Hello everyone and welcome back to Box Office Banter, your favorite box office recap show on the entire internet. I'm Tanner Dexter, joined as always by my good friend and fellow box office enthusiast, Tucker Hazel.
Jeez, one breath? God.
I know it. Tucker...
Okay, it's not that exciting. It's not that exciting.
Tucker, this is pretty exciting. We are well and truly into the summer box office season with May 2025 here. And I'm excited to talk with you about all of the, really about all the up here. I mean, there's some slight downs here and there. We'll get to it, but
really.
a lot of box office victory, domination happening.
We're going to call this the Blockbuster Banter episode.
Exactly, Tucker. You know, but it's not all blockbusters, folks. We have some smaller films, perhaps some indie films that we'll be bringing up here. Sure. But before we get to all of it, I want to remind you to subscribe to Backlot Banter. Oh boy, if you aren't already. We talk about box office stuff here every single month, as well as, you know, doing weekly reviews for new releases and in-depth reviews of classic films, you know, highfalutin art films that may have won the Palme d'Or. We do all sorts of things here at Backlot Banter here. Also, you know, join our Discord server. We have a link for that down in the description. You can talk about plenty of things there down with us, not just movies, but please talk with us about movies in there. We love doing that.
Please.
We are on our knees begging you to do so. Tucker, I am here on my knees begging you to help me start the episode here.
Yeah, you want to talk about movies?
Yes, do it.
Let's start it off where we always do, with the top 10 May 2025 domestic openings. Actually, most months we don't start with the May 2025 ones. Usually something a little different.
Yeah,
but
there's
I thought it fit this time.
Yeah. Broken clock situation starting with the May movies.
Broken clock is right once ever.
Yeah. That's a good point.
But the top 10 domestic openings of this month is dominated heartily and handily by the opening on the 3-day opening, right? Or 4-day opening.
Yes, holiday opening.
Lilo and Stitch, which opened to $182 million. I'm sorry, I just got a little nosebleed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just so much fucking money.
Lots of moolah.
Oh my god. And of course, followed up by another movie that opened on the same day, so another 4-day opening weekend for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning at $79 million. Actually followed incredibly close behind by Thunderbolts at $74 million. Of course, that one only has a 3-day, so they're in a
Mission Impossible and Thunderbolts would switch if you're only counting a 3-day weekend, but it is Memorial Day weekend, so we always count the holiday.
And Lilo and Stitch would still be number 1.
Yeah, well, very well so, yes.
And actually, in 4th place, with a incredibly, like, more than respectable $51 million is Final Destination Bloodlines. Jesus Christ, $51 million for that. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's a big boy.
Then, rounding out the top 5, we have Karate Kid Legends at, this is maybe the only, like, down of the month, is Karate Kid Legends at only $20 million. But still, that's $20 million. That's about... Well, frankly, that's about $20 million more than I have.
Well, fair enough. On the grand scale of things, yeah.
No, I mean, look, I got like thousands of dollars to my name, but not much more than that.
Not millions or tens of millions for that matter.
No.
Rounding out the rest of the top 10, we do have A24's Bring Her Back, from Angel Studios' The Last Rodeo, IFC's horror indie film Clown in a Cornfield.
Yeah, heard that was pretty good.
Yeah, I heard that too. The weekend feature Hurry Up Tomorrow, and then, you know, a classic Lionsgate, the action movie that absolutely dominated the conversation this past month, Shadow Force. Everyone was talking about Shadow Force. Exactly. I made a little joke there because who the fuck saw Shadow Force?
That's crazy.
That was one of those that opened like the week after Thunderbolts when all the little pissy ass, paltry ass studios were like, I don't know, here's something, I guess. Please see our movie. I don't know. Tucker, let's take a look at what we thought would shake out with the biggest openings of the month. So you and I both had Lilo and Stitch, rightly so, in that number 1 spot. And, you know, perhaps we weren't thinking of the full holiday weekend here, or we thought Thunderbolts would do a fare a little bit better. We both had that in our number 2 slot, followed closely by Mission Impossible at number 3. And then this is where we diverge here. I had Final Destination. You had Karate Kid at 4. And then we had the inverse for 5.
Yeah, correct. So, same top 5, a little bit of different order. I think I should have thought a little bit more about the 4-day element of Mission
Yeah.
Impossible's opening, because it does make sense in retrospect that with 4 days it would have been number 2, but ultimately they were very close, so I don't feel that bad about making that prediction. And then I think this is really where my surprise, both positively and negatively, comes for Karate Kid and Final Destination, both kind of swapping places in terms of how big I thought they would be in my mind. Do you have your numbers that you predicted those opening weekends?
Let's see. Lilo and Stitch, I said 120. 60 million off there. I mean...
Holy shit.
Exactly. Thunderbolts, I said, would make 80, and Mission Impossible 75, so I guess I predicted they would be close. Yeah,
take both of those.
Final Destination, I said 40, and then Karate Kid, I said 30.
Okay,
So, 10 million off in either direction for those.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, you were really close. In generalities.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
But let's take a look at what people thought of these movies coming out. We've got these top 6 movies, including now Bring Her Back on here. Actually, no, those were the top 6 highest grossing.
Yes.
And Lilo and Stitch, once again, the people love it. A cinema score.
I guess so.
But, Tanner, this might be the tightest spread that we've had.
I think
everything
so.
being decently high and B plus for both horror movies is fantastic. And
it
for
is really
violent horror movies as well.
Extremely violent for that matter. But
Yeah.
I guess not too off-putting for the general public. And then we also have the tomato meter down there.
Yeah.
The tomatometer. Where
Whoa.
Karate Kid Legends is bringing up the rear at it's right on the line of that rotten. I think it's at 59%. And then everything else is fresh or certified fresh even.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had
And Tanner,
yes.
topped by 2 horror movies at the
Yes.
exact same above 90% on Rotten Tomatoes
Yes.
score. That is incredibly rare for horror movies, let alone in 1 month, let alone the exact same score.
Yep.
Bring Her Back and Final Destination Bloodlines, both those being Bring Her Back is so much newer that we're not fully sure about its financial success yet.
It'll settle a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but with the 2 of them critically being well received and by audiences also being well received, I think that might make this like the best single month for horror movies in terms of quality that we've seen in a long time. Because
yes.
usually there's a lot of stinker horror movies, and we actually had none of them. Well, I mean, there probably were some that we didn't see.
I mean, like I said, Clown in the Cornfield was apparently
also
good.
Yeah, apparently.
I'm just trying to think if there's literally anything else that I saw in terms of horror. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
but my point is, congratulations to Hollywood writ large, and also I guess the world, because the Philippou brothers made Bring Her Back in Australia.
Yes, true.
So we're looking at a great month for movies. Success across the board. Critical reception, great across the board, and especially for horror, cinema score, Rotten Tomatoes, and money-wise, excellent month for horror films, specifically.
Yeah, that's right, Tucker. Now, let's move on, Let's move on to something, a blockbuster film that is, I heard, inspired by some A24 work here. That is Jake Schreier's Thunderbolts. This is the newest film in the
Thunderbolts.
MCU.
Ding!
Yeah, Thunderbolts asterisk, and we finally do know what that asterisk stands for. Though they confusingly haven't fully committed to like the new Avengers thing. I'm not really sure what the backing, what the thought process was behind all of that.
Like the movie's title is Thunderbolts.
Yes.
It's technically the new Avengers because that's what the asterisk means, but
Yeah.
no one's gonna ever call it the new Avengers unless they like start like I don't even know if they really release them on like Blu-ray anymore, but like if the Blu-ray says New Avengers, I mean they'll definitely have a reversible cover for that.
They probably will. That'd be a good little design decision there. But anyway, Tucker, this film has grossed a total of $369 million worldwide on a budget of $180 million. It is quite well reviewed with an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 7.6 on IMDb, and as we already mentioned, an A- cinema score. It is, in fact, the best reviewed MCU film that we've seen in a few years since Spider-Man No Way Home scored a higher Rotten Tomatoes than this.
Impressive that's even higher than Guardians 3, which I think is more of a fan favorite, and has certainly stood the test of time a little bit better. This movie new, it hasn't had a chance to do that, but it's certainly in the upper echelon in terms of quality. And that's also true for me. My score was in the 9 range and balanced out by year about 7. So an 8.1 though, really good for a Marvel movie.
Honestly, I mean, I think the commanding narrative around Thunderbolts was like, hey guys, they made a good one again.
Yeah, they made a real
yeah,
fucking movie.
Exactly.
It's not just CGI soup.
I think that that's sort of reflected in the second week drop here. It posted a 55% drop, which is amongst the best that they've had for Phase 5. Certainly better than
that's a great hold.
Captain America earlier this year fell by upwards of 60, 65, I think. And yeah, and then like the worst is always like people point to like Quantumania from a couple years ago as a horrible drop or whatever, and then like the lowest grossing MCU film, The Marvels, another really bad drop for them. But this one held quite well.
Yeah, it did hold quite well, but it didn't open that big for a Marvel movie. This is one of the lower openings weekends for a Marvel movie, and it holds from a smaller opening means just smaller interest in general. Yeah. This is definitely the most obscure superhero concept that's ever been put into the MCU, I would say.
Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Guardians of the Galaxy was more obscure. I mean, this has recognizable faces.
No,
this has Florence Pugh.
This
has
name
Bucky Barnes.
Thunderbolts, I think, is less exciting. Doesn't inspire as much as Guardians of the Galaxy. Sounds a little more interesting, but we're basing it on
we're splitting hairs here. Yeah.
But this is a low gross for a Marvel movie. At $180 million budget, it actually has doubled its production cost. That is potentially a little bit low. I've heard some higher numbers on the production side there. But it's not a financial loser, and which is really what you want to see, especially because this will bring in a good amount of money in terms of other avenues. But it also is kind of a sequel to Black Widow, which we have down here as sort of its prior. And it has it will outgross Black Widow. It is only $10 million away as of now. Though that movie cost $100 million more, I guess being delayed from COVID and all that.
That might do it, I suppose. But also, the Thunderbolts certainly has a more limited scope than even something like Black Widow does, I would say.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
But we did it, folks. They made a real one.
They made a real one. It is... I mean, if you sat down a Disney exec, a Marvel Studios exec, you got a little bit of truth serum in them. They're probably disappointed by the outcome of this. I would say.
Yes.
But it was well reviewed, so even that is offset a little bit. That like.
Yeah, sure.
If not the dollar, if not the people have been voting with their wallets for this one.
Yeah.
The public interest has sort of turned a corner, I would say, and
and
like Marvel still can make an interesting / good movie that people like.
What people tend to forget is that last year Deadpool and Wolverine was well reviewed and made $1 billion.
Yeah, but also Tucker, usually I'm the person making that point, so then I'll make the opposing point here. In that, Deadpool is always kind of is what that film is sort of separate from the larger MCU.
Sure,
this feels more like an MCU film.
Definitely.
Deadpool was rated R, was bringing back a legacy character in Wolverine. This is more like asking the general public to buy into, hey, these are like the characters that we're going with moving ahead into the new Avengers movies.
Yeah. And they are, and they will, and we will see. We know that Thunderbolts ties in at least somewhat to the presumably ending of Fantastic Four First Steps coming out in just about a month and a half. And then both tying into Doomsday, which, I mean, this is one of our headlines at the end, but has been delayed almost a full year because it was from like the first chunk of the year to the very end.
Yes, it was delayed 6 months.
Yeah. It's going to be a while till we see the Thunderbolts. But also, quicker turnaround for post-Phase 3 characters. I mean, other than like that one period of time when Wong was in everything, we just haven't seen like Phase 4 and 5 characters come back in most meaningful capacities. So getting back-to-back years with the Thunderbolts team it's cool. I'm excited about it.
Yes, for sure. Okay, Tucker, let's move on to a film that stars an MCU alum, but he is operating in quite a different mode.
And hopefully a future MCU alum.
Well, we'll see. We will see if he really wants to cash those checks. This is, of course, Friendship. from director Andrew DeYoung. This stars Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson.
Yep.
This is a little A24 indie comedy here. It's made $12 million at the box office so far, and is really only notable. Wanted to make a slide for it here because it did post the best per theater average of the year so far. $75,000 per theater when it opened on May 9th.
I wish I owned a theater that weekend.
Yeah, exactly. In 6 theaters, just in New York and L.A. At the beginning at the beginning of May, and then expanded into 60 theaters and grossed $1 million. I believe 1.4 that weekend, and then expanded out nationwide on the 23rd over Memorial Day weekend, and so far has posted about $12 million on a single-digit $1 million budget. So great stuff there.
Yeah. And this was definitely positioned as that indie comedy, not the we want comedies to be theatrical comedies are back, baby. Especially because even though I Think You Should Leave, which is Tim Robinson's Netflix show, is very popular and Paul Rudd is a recognizable star, this is an A24 movie. This isn't like Warner Brothers or Paramount trying to be like, we're making a fucking theatrical comedy starring Tim Robinson.
This is not something that is attempting at general appeal, though I think perhaps it has more mass appeal than maybe A24 or anybody else in the prognostication game gave it credit for. I mean, I think that people really had a moment going to the theater to see this of Tim Robinson is popular, or maybe it was Paul Rudd too, but I feel like my theater at least, I can't speak to your experience, Tucker, but mine did have people who were in tune, on beat with the Tim Robinson comedic timing and style and everything.
Tanner, you got to be to watch this fucking movie.
Absolutely.
If you're not, you're gonna fucking hate it. I don't think you and I really got a chance to talk about this movie.
We didn't.
I did go to see it with my brother and a friend who didn't like it. I think specifically because he wasn't it made him uncomfortable. It's a very uncomfortable movie. But when I sat down in this theater, the lights begin to dim and beautiful images on a silver screen. Movies are magic.
We come to this place for magic. Yeah.
Yes. And Tim Robinson walks out of his house. I had to stifle a laugh. He wasn't even doing anything funny, but I've been Pavlovianly trained to laugh at the way, just I don't know, just the way he holds his head or whatever.
At his general demeanor.
Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? I've never thought about comedy in that way, but I've watched so much I Think You'd Leave, and I think it's so fucking funny that just seeing his face, not even doing anything interesting or funny, made me want to laugh, and so I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was excellent. And it'll be interesting to see if this turns into something where Tim Robinson can build a theatrical presence in a larger way.
I certainly
That'd
hope
be
so.
Interesting, but to me, it kind of feels like just kind of an experiment before. Another season of
If anything,
comes out soon.
He's going to succeed in this exact realm, in the indie realm. He has a certain fandom that we are both a part of, that he has built up over the last several years or whatever, that is certainly alienating. As you mentioned, your friend went to go see it with you. Not everyone is going to be in on it, but can perform well in these specific sorts of avenues, like Friendship just did.
Yeah.
So, there's that. Speaking of something that did have some big breakout general mass appeal, Final Destination Bloodlines, which we already mentioned is a big surprise, huge surprise for the month. On a budget of $50 million, it made that back domestically opening weekend, as we mentioned. It has so far grossed $230 million at the global box office.
Which has, I don't know if you have it as one of the facts here, but it's just got to be one of the highest grossing horror movies of recent times.
Oh, sure. I mean, absolutely. I guess I didn't look into that specifically, but, people were sort of comparing this to previous entries, and it has really, Warner Brothers obviously meant this as a New Line even meant this as a revitalization for the series, and I think it even blew past their expectations oh hey, people like Final Destination again. It's no, people fucking love Final Destination. Apparently, they are rearing for something like this in theaters.
92% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Exactly.
I honestly, before the last month or so, when I actually did end up going through it and watching all the Final Destination movies, Final Destination was the joke series in my head.
Yeah, where I think it is.
I can't fucking believe that a series that, to my mind, before having seen them, frankly, was all these movies are fucking bad. No one cares about them. Like they don't have a lot of cultural relevance, to be honest.
Of course.
There's not really characters or particular strong iconography that people like reference in terms of horror movies. And so I was like, what the fuck are they doing? Another Final Destination?
Yeah.
But I mean, I really like this movie a lot, and so that was a pleasant surprise for me. I mean, personally, I think it's the strongest of the series, but just seeing it explode back, like this is a complete 180 from going into this year. I thought it was like, especially because at the bottom here you have it that it was initially slated for a streaming release.
Yes,
that's what in my mind felt right. Of like, oh, you know, like the fucking Hellraiser, like straight to fucking Netflix or whatever. Like it felt like that in my mind, but no, they made a great movie, and then people really came out to see it.
They did. It became the highest-grossing film in the series within 1 week. A series that was long dead for over a decade. Last film came out in 2011. Its domestic opening weekend nearly outgrossed the domestic haul of all the previous entries. The highest being $66 million for the Final Destination.
That's the fourth one.
Yes, that's number 4.
Which is funny.
$66 million,
same thing with Fast and Furious. You ever think about that? The fourth Fast and Furious movie called... No, wait, that one's just Fast and Furious. The is the first one.
That's right, yes, that's right.
But it's like inverted. It's the fourth movie in both of them. That's very interesting.
The big thing, I think the big success here that Warner Brothers seems to be consistently tapping into this year, they've really hit their stride in the marketing department here. Social media impressions for Final Destination Bloodlines were 75% ahead of other recent horror films, which explains the breakout nature of the reception for this film, the box office sensation that it was. Yeah,
and it just continues. Warner Brothers absolute fucking winning streak this year. I mean, something like Mickey 17 might have underperformed a little bit, but Companion into Mickey 17, into Working Man, into Minecraft, into Sinners, into Accountant 2, into Final Destination Bloodlines is just a crazy run. Like, basically all those movies were successful to some degree. And they're kind of the one that's just like dominating the box office week to week this year.
I think we kind of had to be wary of them coming out of Barbie a couple years ago. That being a total like marketing super win, completely reimagining the way that these studios like market movies in the modern day and age. And I think they've really taken those lessons to heart, and will probably continue to do so. Look out for a little film called Superman coming out in theaters in a little bit.
It is interesting though that they are, other than Superman, they're sitting out the summer movie season here.
I think they are gung ho behind Superman though.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and obviously Minecraft was like the dominant movie of the first part of this year as well. They are apparently theatrically distributing F1, which is an Apple movie.
That's an Apple. That's right.
But like, I don't know. You and I are going to associate that more with Apple than Warner.
Right. Apple financed it. Warner Brothers doesn't really have any skin in the game on that one. It's all profit for them essentially.
True. Yeah. Well, which is the first time someone's working with Apple has ever been able to say that. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Apple's movies usually tank, is my point.
Yeah, that's the exact point, yes. But hey, you know what? Final Destination, Bloodlines, fucking great stuff. Crazy that it did this well. Very excited that it did this well, too. I mean, the number of Final Destination Bloodlines sequels that this box office reception alone has greenlit is incomprehensible.
And Tanner, this also has greenlit it's greenlit reboots and re-revivals of the franchise 30 years from now. Because one thing that we always look at when something is like a legacy sequel, like this isn't technically that, it kind of is, but
it operates as one kind of. Tony Todd is back, of course, in his final performance, but
it's not being sold as one. But to my point of revitalizing a franchise, it's usually like, okay, something, especially usually early on in the franchise, made a lot of money, and let's hope that we can recapture that. And obviously they were able to, and then some with this. But now we have like a much more modern prior for, when we are in our 50s, for someone to be like, oh man, you remember when Final Destination Bloodlines was like one of the biggest horror movies of the 2020s? Let's try that again.
It's the opposite of the Halloween joke that who is it? Is it James A. Janice does, or
no, James Rolfe?
James Rolfe, sorry, when and this one came out and it killed the franchise. It's the opposite of
the franchise.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Tucker. It's time. It's time for the main man, the white boy of the month, as it were. Mission
Stitch.
Impossible. Yeah, that's right. He's the blue boy. He's the blue boy. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. The final asterisk film in the Mission Impossible series.
They haven't announced another one.
They have not. They have not. After 30-odd years, Tom Cruise is apparently closing the book on this, and Ethan Hunt as a character. Mm-hmm. But the film itself has grossed $350 million so far at the global box office, on a budget of about $350 million, probably closer to $400 million.
Yeah, making it one of the most expensive movies ever made.
Yes.
And when we were looking at the budget of Dead Reckoning a few years ago and saying that exact same thing of, holy fuck, this budget is big, we were thinking, well, Final Reckoning, or Dead Reckoning Part 2 at that time, is coming out in a year. This probably counts for some of that movie's production budget.
No, apparently not.
And nope, they were in almost $1 billion on this pair of movies.
So I tried to parse out what the deal was here, and I've learned some interesting things about the production of Mission Impossible movies, at least as it pertains to the modern iteration of them. So let me spin you a yarn here, folks. Christopher McQuarrie, as long as he's headed up the series since Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation in 2015, he's been the directorial hand for over a decade now.
Yeah, and kind of creative force.
Exactly.
And Tom Cruise are the ones making these goddamn movies.
Yeah. He goes into these movies apparently far differently than any other Hollywood producer or director would tell you to go into a movie, which is basically, we'll kind of figure out the script as we go along.
That's what I've heard.
we go in and we nail down what the set pieces are going to be. We nail down exactly what the marketing department for Paramount wants us to shoot.
Yeah.
And then, like, we go some places, we hit some exotic locales, Tom Cruise jumps off of something, and then we figure out the script as we go.
That's amazing.
Which, for some reason, has worked out, like, beyond well for most of this series, at least when McQuarrie is handling them. But, hit a bit of a roadblock when things like the pandemic or the SAG strikes came along. And, to the producer's credit, they did pay everyone on the team, creative team, the crew, everything like that, during those interim periods, which is why the budget exploded out. They want everybody on retainer so that when things kick back up, they can get back into production immediately, because that's just how these films need to be made. And that can explain why these films tend to be so expensive, on top of the fact that they are just shooting, reshooting, cutting things, filling in holes with like 6 weeks of reshoots or whatever. That's just how these movies are made.
Yeah.
Which
who Christopher McQuarrie will never work with, Tanner?
Who's that?
James Gunn.
Oh, most likely.
Because James Gunn for DC Studios has a very clear-cut rule that they're not going to start production on a movie until a script is completely done and locked down. Of course, that doesn't mean that things can't be sort of changed during production, but that to me is so refreshing in the modern theatrical landscape.
Yeah.
Where Mission Impossible and then also Marvel is currently having this issue where scripts are being sort of worked on in real time. They're laying down the track as they're running along, and I'm like, don't do that with a $300 million movie. What the fuck are you doing?
Now, it should also be said that the reason that they are able to get away with this, even as the movies maybe don't make back their budget every single time, is because they kind of have an unlimited checkbook with the Ellisons behind them, the billionaire Ellison family, who I believe the deal for them to purchase Paramount is still being finalized, but will probably go through at some point this year.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, Tucker, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning had the biggest opening weekend of the entire franchise. Yeah. Congratulations there.
Yeah.
It was, it's had some great reception overseas as well, particularly in Asian markets. It was the biggest Chinese opening for a Hollywood film this year with $25 million. Japan and Korea were also huge markets for this movie. It was also the first film in the series to not debut at number one at the box office for reasons that we will talk about in just a moment.
Interesting. And of course, the funny bit of trivia being that there was a Tom Cruise movie out the same week that the original Lilo and Stitch
yes, released. That's right.
Which movie was it?
Minority Report, I think, right?
Oh, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah,
Would it have been Minority Report?
2001?
2002.
Yeah. Yeah, and now, God, Stitch came for him and came for him hard.
No, wait, I take that. I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna make sure. I think it was Vanilla Sky actually, but let me double check.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just it'll be interesting to see where this movie levels out. Because another thing you have here is it was set multiple IMAX opening weekend records. IMAX being a big part of the Tom Cruise, McQuarrie, the TC and McQ, as you call them.
Yes.
Appeal in theaters or something seen on the biggest screen possible.
Yeah.
And something that Dead Reckoning, the previous film, wasn't really able to have a ton of because it was immediately ousted by both Barbie and Oppenheimer, releasing the exact week after. This movie did not have that same issue, and they locked down IMAX screens for a while.
I think it's like 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, what's taken away from that this week?
It wouldn't be Ballerina next week. I guess it's How to Train Your Dragon probably takes.
Oh wait,
them.
that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, it must be 3 weeks then. Which is a great deal, and I mean, this set multiple records for them overseas, so I'm sure they're happy they worked out that deal. As is Paramount and the people behind Mission Impossible. Those IMAX tickets, those are a little spendier, so you bump your box office numbers up.
Yeah.
And Tucker, I should have trusted my gut. It was Minority Report.
Yes.
Okay.
That sounded right to me.
Okay. Now, Tucker,
let's do it.
the Blue Boy of the month. The Blue Boy of the month. It's Lilo and Stitch. The biggest Memorial Day weekend opening ever. Period. Exclamation point. Question mark. Exclamation point. Period.
Which is crazy because Memorial Day is actually a weekend that usually has a big movie release.
Yeah, usually. Yeah, it typically does. But Lilo and Stitch just trounced everything else that has come out. I believe second place was like in the 160 range. If you want, I think. Are you checking on that for me, Tucker?
I'm hold on. Memorial Day opening weekend. Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick. Well, hey.
God,
Tom Cruise just can't get away from Stitch, can he?
Yeah.
Jesus
but
Christ.
I mean, just looking at different movies that have opened. Of course, remember Little Mermaid in 2023.
Right. Indiana
Jones and Kingdom of Crystal Skull.
Oh,
X-Men 3. Pirates of the Caribbean movies, Fast and Furious, the live action Aladdin, Days of Future Past, Solo, Jurassic World 2. The Lost World, Jurassic Park. Like, this is consistently massive movies releasing.
Yeah.
And Stitch comes in, and with all the fucking Disney marketing of him like chewing on things and eating things, he is chewing up movie records and spitting them out and pooping them out and barfing on them. I don't know what he does. I didn't see the movie.
He does some of those things. On a budget of
dry humping them because he's a little dog.
He's an alien.
Yeah, he's basically a dog.
He's kind of a dog. They call him a dog numerous times in the movie. Yeah. On a budget of $100 million. I haven't seen the movie yet,
so I wouldn't know the part where he's an alien.
That's true.
Thanks,
sorry.
Tanner.
Sorry. Spoilers for Lilo and Stitch.
Spoilers for a 20-year-old story.
So yes, on a budget of $100 million, this was another one, like Final Destination, that was initially thought to be a Disney Plus programmer.
Man, can you imagine being one of the whatever executives on either side?
Yeah.
Can you imagine being the guy that was like, Lilo and Stitch, that's a fucking Disney Plus movie. And then he's sitting there on Memorial Day weekend like, they're never going to trust me again. And then you think about
It's the what? It's the biggest ever?
It's the
Oh my God.
And then can you imagine being the guy that was like, send the shit to theaters.
Yeah, he's the one. He's the one that called him and said, hey, it's the biggest ever.
And he went, Tanner, on the phone, he went, nanny nanny boo boo.
He did do nanny nanny boo boo, didn't he? Just like Stitch would. So yeah, I mean, it set a bunch of different records. It set a bunch of different records for the Memorial Day weekend, but the bottom line was it's the biggest ever. It is tracking behind things like The Lion King from 2019 and Beauty and the Beast from 2017, which both handily made $1 billion. It's tracking right behind those in front of Aladdin, which we also just mentioned. This one's going to make $1 billion. Give it a week or so, we'll be there. And speaking of
Tanner,
billions,
just look at this. $100 million is a big budget movie. Yeah. But respectably budgeted for one of these. We were just talking about the budget of Snow White, which let me just make sure.
Yeah, double check that one. It's like 2. I think it's like double this, right?
209. Yeah. So I mean,
yeah.
and like I don't know. You saw both movies. How different did they look in terms of like CGI quality?
I mean, not that different. I mean,
one of them cost twice as much.
Snow White is more CGI intensive. Lilo and Stitch, you're really only doing like Stitch most of the time, and then like spaceship stuff at the beginning and the end. But yeah, I mean, it's,
and in that movie you're paying in Snow White you're paying Gal Gadot, and in this movie you're paying
Zach Galifianakis is maybe getting the biggest paycheck on this one. Anyway, where am I?
How much does Zachy G charge?
How many G's is he pulling in? I mean, only one man would know. Oh yeah, I wanted to say, speaking of billions, this film and the opening weekend of it pushed Disney past $2 billion for 2025. They're the first one to accomplish this task, and we didn't catch this earlier. Whatever film pushed them past the 1 billion mark for this year, that was the 20th consecutive year, not counting the COVID year. Everyone in Hollywood just has agreed to like scrub that one from the record books. The 20th consecutive year that Disney has passed $1 billion at the box office.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and I think the reason maybe we didn't notice, Tanner, the Disney crossing $1 billion, is that it probably happened this month between Thunderbolts and Stitch.
Good point.
Those movies together have made $1 billion.
Yeah, they have.
And so, or it might have been like just before Thunderbolts came out.
Right.
So then I guess it would have been Snow White.
Yeah, I mean, obviously also supplemented by Captain America.
Yeah. Oh, and then were there any Fox movies?
Oh gosh, Doc, you're quizzing me now. Let's see.
Or are they just like taking a break till Predator comes out?
They might be. I'm sure there was one. Oh, Tucker the Amateur.
Yeah.
Which did do well. It did do well.
Yeah, I guess it was The Amateur.
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't want to think about that movie again.
All right. Well, Tucker, you want to think about Lilo and Stitch anymore, or should we move on?
Well, is there anything else that we have to...
Not really.
No.
It's the
biggest...
big
deal, but we don't really care. Well, actually, I do want to stipulate something that we talked quite a bit about when we talked about Snow White, is that because of that movie's severe underperformance, the live-action remake division of Disney had started to cancel some projects and get a little bit less funding and stuff, but...
And I was going, yes!
And then what they did is they went... Clear, boom, and they shocked it back to life.
No,
Tanner's the one guy who's watching Dr. Frankenstein. He doesn't want him to bring the monster back.
That's right. Let him die. Let it die. That's what I'm screaming.
But I mean, let's be honest. Like the massive success of this movie, and then what will be the massive success of the live-action Moana movie coming out next year. We're back. I mean, like I'm
it's
sorry,
gonna happen.
but
yeah.
But all these fucking projects that you've heard are probably getting their wheels spinning to start happening again.
That's right. They probably are. Okay. Well, on that note, let's move on, Tucker, to, as we mentioned already, probably the low point of the month in terms of, how these films are received and how happy the studios are about them. This is Karate Kid Legends on a respectable budget of $45 million. It's basically made that back in less than a week, so not too much of a ding for it there. But it is the lowest reviewed film, the worst reviewed film of the ones that we'll be talking about here at 59%. A- cinema score, 6.6 on IMDb. And we just thought it was okay, and is a far cry from something. Again, we go back 15 years to when the Karate Kid and the origin of Jackie Chan in this series happened. That would made $360 million on basically the same budget.
Yeah, actually,
insanity.
Surprisingly so. Obviously, inflation would make that money worth a lot more. Back in 2010, but impressive that they were able to keep the budget as low as it was here. I mean, it seems like they budgeted properly. What we do have to make sure everyone knows, and it's clear from the time we're recording and uploading, we've only had one weekend of this movie. We don't know what its holds are going to be like, but $46 million, it has actually already made back its production budget.
It has.
And that is a good sign. It has more weeks. It has plenty more weeks.
It's not going to be a huge red mark in the Sony Studios, Sony ledger.
No, but I honestly don't even think they necessarily will consider it a red mark. I think it just probably won't inspire sequels.
Yeah.
Unless they do something crazy with it, like get a bigger star in there. I do think that the only, frankly, real draw here is Jackie Chan, who has not been a theatrical draw since the mid-2010s at best.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, at least
so,
not in live action stuff. He's been in, he's done voice work, essentially.
Sure.
You're right.
Yeah, but he's not a box office draw. He's also not in a lot of the movie.
I think that's probably the case too. He has sort of fallen back on his Chinese market, essentially.
Sure.
He is in plenty of Chinese movies, the lead in plenty of Chinese action movies, spy movies, whatever. What he used to be doing in the States during the 2000s and into the 2010s even. He's really fallen back on that market in his later years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But my point being, I don't think this will be a red mark. I think because it's made its production budget back,
Sure.
I think because this is, again, only week one, it will probably get close to, if not doubling that, which makes it not a red mark. It also, if it inspires kids to be into general Karate Kid shit, this is a family movie. It's a children's movie, and so it has these other ancillary markets and supplemental IP-driven fucking money possibilities. That I wouldn't be surprised if in 3 or 4 years we're looking at another Karate Kid movie with maybe someone big as the villain or something that like would make it a bigger theatrical
I don't
draw.
know. I just think that this was probably this I think Sony kind of viewed as their best bet to get to like have this be a big hit. Is getting Jackie Chan back, is getting Ralph Macchio back, and getting
Ralph Macchio's not a box office draw.
No, but like the
he's
idea,
a series draw.
The general idea of it there being a fandom around this. I mean, I noted that down at the bottom here, 46% of the opening weekend audience cited their love for the franchise as the main reason for interest in the film. I think it just has shaken out to be that there's not a lot of nostalgia for Karate Kid. That is just one that is kind of a shallow mine. And what has been mined out of it has probably already been mined out by the Cobra Kai series on Netflix.
That's also true, yeah, which was very popular. And the interesting thing is that the Karate Kid series, actually, in terms of money, was never that big. I was just quickly looking at The Karate Kid, the first one.
Right.
$90 million total. Karate Kid 2, $115 Karate Kid 3, $38 million. Next Karate Kid, $15 million.
Yeah, that one wasn't. That one probably wasn't a big deal.
And then, of course, we have the number down here at the bottom for the 2010 Karate Kid at over 300. That's really the only time that the series has been like a major money maker in terms of total gross. Of course, the low budgets of those original films made them absolutely profitable. But of a $20 million opening, 46 as of first week here is not like crazy when you put it into consideration of what the series actually is in terms of its appeal. But it also feels like something that should have been bigger. And I think that's why we're putting a little stink on it.
I think certainly Sony, honestly, who knows what their expectations for this were, but I think certainly they were wanting this to be a bigger deal. And I was just looking up their output. They're kind of aching for a win this year. I mean, they had Paddington in Peru earlier this year. They distributed that in the U.S., but they're coming off of like Craven at the end of last year, and they could have something coming up next month or this month, I should say, with 28 Years Later. But then they have like the I Know What You Did Last Summer in this summer as well.
That will be one of the best tests of can we do a fucking IP legacy sequel thing.
Yeah. And then they have, like Darren Aronofsky's Caught Stealing, A Big Bold Beautiful Journey, these auteurist visions that are that look cool or fun, but are certainly not box office things because they're dropping them in August and September. And then December, it's Anaconda, and they don't really have anything outside of that.
Yeah, because this is the first time in a long time that there's not Marvel to lean back on. Of course, there's a Spider-Man movie in production, and so that'll make back what all these movies have potentially lost.
And then some.
So it's a wash at the end of the day. But even like the B and C and D and X tier fucking Marvel movies that they were making the last few years were kind of what they were basing their theatrical slate around. And I think that's why it feels feels empty.
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of wistful, as we're like,
it's
where's
like,
the spunk?
Well, what do they? Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, what does Sony actually really have, other than some like tangential Spider-Man related stuff? And the answer would be not a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean they had Garfield last year.
They had Garfield. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. I can look at their slate from last year too. Since we're at it, since we're shitting on Sony,
Ghostbusters, which they're
Ghostbusters,
more of. Bad Boys, which was pretty big.
Bad Boys,
Harold
and the Purple Crayon. It Ends With Us was big.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and Venom was obviously their biggest thing from last year, I would say.
Yeah. And three Sony movies.
And three Spunk movies. That's right.
Fuck me, dude.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That's the thing that happened. Jesus.
Okay. So should we close it out with Bring Her Back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about horror, a movie that you and I really like. This is the highest rating that we gave any of these movies this month at an 8.5. And at $8 million, and again, only one weekend, on a budget of 15, absolutely going to be profitable. The Raka Raka X A24 collaboration is not ending anytime soon. We know that they're working on a sequel to Talk to Me. There's been some light rumblings about that now that they're on a press tour for this movie. But I do think that in comparison to Talk to Me, which frankly we probably should have put as a prior here in the box, which I'm gonna actually quickly look up what the opening weekend of Talk to Me was.
I don't think it ever ranks above, like amongst their A24's biggest.
Okay. The domestic opening of 10. So not too much smaller, actually.
Right. But that one just had crazy word of mouth and was sort of like an indie horror train that ran through early summer 2023. This one,
oh my god, that movie only cost $4.5 million.
Yeah, this one does cost 15, which is a fair bit more, but it's totally fine. Because this film has grossed $8 million so far. It has good word of mouth with that B+ cinema score, which is good for a horror film, and a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think people, if they want to be disturbed this summer season, they might go check out this one out in the next couple of weeks. It was A24's second biggest opening of 2025, not that far behind Warfare from April, which opened to 8.3. This one opened to just over 7.
Yeah, I was putting some big stink on that. I bet that didn't pay out for me.
Yeah, exactly. and speaking to the collaboration between A24 and Raka Raka, or the brothers Philippou, as it were, this is 31% of the opening weekend audience cited their interest in the directors as the reason for why they purchased a ticket.
Yeah, so, and that's certainly why we went, is so they made a movie that we loved, and then we loved their second movie. And I think that's a cool thing about the freedom and the branding that A24 has cultivated. Is most people are going, especially as they continue to cultivate directors and give them the creativity and freedom, people like Ari Aster have become relatively household names. And
it's certainly if you are someone who knows about, if you're even a horror fan, not even someone who knows the industry or whatever, you know who Ari Aster is. If you're a college kid or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, Ari Aster's coming out with a new movie. That looks crazy. There were some, like, when the Eddington trailer started before this, and it said, from director Ari Aster or whatever, there was like some murmuring around the theater.
Yeah, that's going to be a fucking fascinating one, isn't it?
It certainly will, coming out in the dead heat of summer, yes. Yeah. But no, like, for all the stink that people, like, cynics on film Twitter will be like, well, all these dumb kids think that A24 is the director behind all these movies. It's like, no, if we're being honest with ourselves here, what A24 is doing is, like, giving these, especially horror directors, some panache and everything like that, and using themselves as a platform to launch off interesting creative visions.
Yeah, I think it's excellent.
Okay, Tucker, let's go on to the last time on Backlot Banter, the movies of April. Minecraft is doing super well. Not gonna quite join the $1 billion club. It went on VOD actually a couple weeks ago, so that might be what did it. Honestly, was pulling the trigger on that.
Just crazy that it didn't actually make $1 billion.
Yeah,
ultimately that's an arbitrary
number. Yeah.
Because the movie's massively profitable.
It's a difference of $50 million at this point. Yeah.
But yeah, it culturally it feels like $1 billion movie.
It does. And ultimately, what is more important for the legacy of the film? You know.
Yeah. But Tanner, let me tell you, Minecraft Movie 2.
Oh, full steam ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And Warfare, much smaller at a total of $32 million. That movie is basically done.
Yep.
Sinners, from week 3, under a month, to almost 2 months later. No, 2 months total. Sinners is at $350 million, making it a very, very profitable.
Yes, that one just went on VOD this past week, I want to say.
Yes. And then Sony, Tanner, we forgot about Until Dawn here.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that happened. Until Dawn has made $51 million. I want to just quickly get the budget for that just to see.
It was like 20-ish, I want to say,
Until
if memory
Dawn,
serves.
15 million, so
15.
that is very profitable, actually.
That's fine, yeah.
For them. And then The Accountant 2, Tanner. Crossed the century mark there.
Yeah, that's right. The big 3 digits for old Benny boy.
Yeah. Yeah, and that movie, I believe, cost a little bit more, $80 million budget. Yeah. So we're not seeing Accountant 3.
Well, you don't think so? Oh shoot! All right.
Oh darn! I just love characters.
Christian Wolf.
Christian Wolf. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a turkey, dude. Look, I've been thinking about that movie a little bit more recently because I've been starting to watch The Walking Dead.
Oh, sure, okay.
And with my buddy
John
Shane,
Bernthal, yes.
Bernthal.
Who is that? Who is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I've just been thinking about that movie, but I didn't like that movie. I don't care to see it.
No, it's not a good movie at all. Yeah. Okay, Tucker. Let's talk about the good movies that did come out this month and this month last year. Yeah. The 2025 versus 2024 Maze and a little 2023 right in the middle there. We only had one red. Only one red this month. So impressive stuff, I would say.
Yeah.
As opposed to two stinkers, Garfield movie and Terra last year. Now, Tucker, is it just me again on the Lilo and Stitch and Garfield movie? Did you see Garfield movie?
Not till later.
Okay, yeah, you like watched it like online or whatever.
Yeah.
But by the time we were tabulating these, that's just my score, I want to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Just checking.
Yes. Which is why it's so low. And I don't know. I
Tucker,
can't imagine.
You know me. I love movies for babies. Clearly, look at the scores that I give them.
Yeah. And just looking at these slates of movies here.
Yeah.
2023 really stands out to me because 6.9 is a really high average.
It is.
Of course, it's only the average of 3 movies. It has a great movie, a bad movie, and honestly, a movie in retrospect we were a little bit too kind to.
What, you talking about Fast X?
Is not that good.
Fast X kind of stinks. Let's be honest with ourselves. Like we were coming off the high of like F9, for example, a movie that we both liked.
Wait. Oh, hold on. I'm just looking at our scores that we gave those. No, we weren't actually that high on it. We gave it a 5.
Okay, good. Okay, I thought that might have been the case.
Little Mermaid that was a little bit higher at 6.7.
Okay,
which was my fault probably.
Probably. What was I gonna? Oh, there's also been some discussion. Let's take a pause here and talk about Fast and Furious a little bit here.
Talk to me.
I will. I want to get your thoughts, Tucker. Will Fast and Furious 11 come out?
That's the end of the question.
Yeah. Will that movie get made?
I mean, probably, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to hear.
Yeah,
I just wanted to get your thoughts. Okay.
Because I think they think they can do it, you know.
But here's my thing. I think there is a lot of battling going on just behind the corporate curtain that we're not privy to.
Sure.
I heard a very funny observation, probably on Twitter, I think, that was that movie is still in the Vin Diesel Instagram post level of production, where he's like, "We're making it. I'm excited.
After 2 years, again, actually very similar to Dead Reckoning. Another thing that I think it was supposed to come out a year later or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, or they were going to do a spin-off, and then it was going to be the next year was Fast 11, but or Fast X Part. X Part 2, right? That's what it's supposed to be called.
Exactly.
Fuck you.
But
Fuck
then,
you,
like,
Finn.
but
It's not gonna
we've
be called
just
that.
we've just had all these weird things that that throw these question marks up for me. It was like The Rock obviously is a cameo in the end credits of that film, but everyone's like, okay, so The Rock is coming back for 11, and then he's like, no, actually, what that was setting up was a Solo Hobbs spin-off movie. And you're like, okay, I thought you and Vin were like on the mend, and they're like, no, apparently not. And then also, there's reporting that like Universal wants to like strip it back, go back to basics,
Oh,
and
that's
make it
what I've heard. Yeah,
make it
yeah.
like a smaller scale, set only in LA movie. I was like, how are you guys gonna do that when the last movie ended with an entire dam exploding and Jason Momoa as maniacal villain Dante with like bombs and drones and missiles and Dom and young Brian like driving down a dam with nitro nos going? I was like, how are we gonna get from point A to like a stripped back street racing movie in point B?
Yeah, I mean, no, I have no fucking idea. I don't. That's a good question. Is it going to come out? I think that a next mainline Fast and Furious movie will happen.
Okay.
I almost wonder if it's like do they even like bother like really tying it in? Like they just do like a Fast and Furious : something that's not a spinoff, but like isn't actually a sequel to Fast X? I don't fucking know.
And ultimately, this is mostly spurned on by how funny would it be if they just never make another one?
They just end it there. Holy
and that's
shit.
the end of the series.
Yeah, fuck, dude, that'd be so funny.
Oh, Lord. Okay, let's get back on track here, Tucker. Let's quickly look at how the box office is tracking. The monthly box office is tracking over the last few years. Yeah, look at that big old red dot in the sky. It's not the sun that you're looking at there. You're looking at the 2025 May box office,
Tanner,
baby.
if you're looking up in the sky and the sun is red, get your fucking eyes checked.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. But no, it is, we are way, way, way above where we were this time last year. I think it was around this time last year that everyone was like, movies are done, call it quits, shut Hollywood down, no one goes to see movies anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's close to the lowest month that we've seen.
Yeah.
In the last 3 years.
Exactly.
Just looking at these numbers. And also the first time this year that the numbers have been above 23. Yeah. Which, of course, the April to May holdover from 23 was mostly the Mario movie.
Right.
Continuing to hold well. And now, yes, Minecraft movie held well into this month, but also we had two of the biggest openings for May movies, and so and then we had surprise hits, and so like this was Hollywood basically firing on all cylinders, almost no downside.
I would tend to agree. Yeah, it was a record month in many regards, and hopefully we continue that trend up. We'll talk about the movies that are coming out in June in just a second, and what the month is looking like. But we have a couple more pit stops to make before that, such as let's look at the top 10 highest grossing films of the year so far. We got new stickers all over the goddamn place, baby.
Whoa!
Yeah. So Minecraft
God damn
movie.
it.
Still, yeah. Well, we'll get to him in a moment. Minecraft movie still at number 1. Stitch is gonna be hot on that guy's tail. Will probably overtake by the time we're talking about it next month. Sinners at a solid number 3. Captain America, $200 million at number 4. Thunderbolts broke in to number 5 there. Mission Impossible has broken into number 6. That'll continue to rise. Final Destination will probably continue to go up. And then we have some mainstays.
Go up, but won't move up a position.
No, probably not.
If anything, with movie, because we only check in once a month.
Yeah.
It'll be pushed down, but it will probably stay in the top 10 for another month or maybe 2.
I don't know how many June things will make more than 100 million, because this is where we hit the sub 100 million domestic mark here with Dogman, Snow White still hanging around, and gotta shout it out, The Accountant 2, $65 million, the number 10 highest grossing film at this current moment.
Yeah. This is going to be the last time we see that poster and reference it in this show until 1 year from now, when it is one of the movies of April and we're comparing it. But sayonara.
Yeah, so long, folks. Okay.
Sayonara to The Accountant 2.
some headlines, some big old headlines. And Tucker, I want to say if you can point out a specific trend that is happening with the headlines of May that may have something to do with the movie that came out in April.
Yeah.
So Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah are set to direct a Writers Republic film, just a really quite an obscure extreme BMX and skateboarding and skydiving game. Is apparently getting a film adaptation.
Yeah, well, it is obscure in terms of IP name. I'm just going to quickly look up Rise Republic sales numbers. It is a game by Ubisoft, so that's a big fucking
big
deal.
publisher.
And actually, there's really no information, frankly, about how many copies it sold. This one says 1.3 million. That's probably a little higher than that by now, but I'm stoked about this. Will it get made? I don't fucking believe that.
Probably not. But can you imagine some Bad Boys Ride or Die style camera work on some sweet BMX bikes and stuff?
Yeah. Well, Tanner, you played a little Riders Republic.
I did.
Let's recall, it's a BMX game / what would be adapted into a movie in broad strokes, but it is also jetpacks and motorcycles and
skiing, like skydiving, everything. It's every extreme sport in one single game.
Squirrel suit,
wingsuit,
and that's a great idea for a movie. Extreme sports don't get many movies in the modern day, and frankly, just in general across film history. And so this is one that is sold to a studio and pitched as video game adaptations are hot. Here is why this package is being put together. Ubisoft, successful directors, video game IP.
Yeah, exactly.
But why, if it happens, I think it would be interesting is because it's not really a video game movie. It's just an extreme sports movie that uses a pre-established IP name.
This is a bit of a cursed term to use, but it's kind of like a Gran Turismo type, where it's video game IP circumspect to being a broader genre film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think Until Dawn was also kind of.
We pointed that out.
Kind of a horror movie. But I would be very interested to see this, not only because I think Red Republic is actually a really cool game, but the directors Bilal Fallah and Adel Arbi are awesome. We loved what they did with
Bad Boys
Ride or Die, and we loved what they did with Ms. Marvel.
And we love what they did with Batgirl.
Batgirl.
Wait, hang on a second.
Wait, hold on.
There's something about that. Anyway,
but that would be cool.
Yeah, it would be cool. Deliver Me From Nowhere, which is the Bruce Springsteen biopic starring Jeremy Allen White, will release on October 24th of this year. Is it going to be... Yeah?
That's a terrible fucking name for a movie.
Well, fair. Is it going to be the complete unknown of this year? I forgot the name of the movie for a second.
Yeah.
Probably not.
No, I don't think it will. And I honestly do think that that the name is a big part of that. I only read the first chunk of this, which is Deliver Me From Nowhere, starring Jeremy Allen White. I'm like, okay, I recognize this part, but what the... I didn't even get to the Bruce Springsteen part because my eyes are stupid. But I'm like, simply what could that fucking be? It could be any genre of movie. You could put Adam Sandler in front of that and it's some fucking wacky thing.
That's a fair point.
It's so generic. And I assume, I'm not a Bruce Springsteen guy, I assume that is a semi-iconic lyric, but it's not Bohemian Rhapsody or Rocket Man or even A Complete Unknown, which is not a great movie title, but come on.
No. It's
also Respect. Respect is a word, but it's also an iconic lyric.
Yeah. It's also magnitudes of Timothy Chalamet to Jeremy Allen White. Yeah. I recognize that guy. He's from TV.
He's from Bear. He's
from
Bear.
Okay. Oz Perkins is reportedly pushing Neon, his close producing partners, to purchase the Texas Chainsaw Massacre film rights. This has been something that's been reported on lightly, if you've been paying attention to stuff. Apparently there is a backwater, quiet, grabbing for the rights to this series and to make another one of these. Netflix obviously made one a couple of years ago. I assume that the rights are now up for grabs once again, with various directors and producing companies and things like that apparently being hey, we're kind of interested in this.
You know what? You know what series rights I hope gets also up the air?
What's that?
The Exorcist.
Oh,
Please don't make another one of those fucking movies, please.
no, Mike Flanagan is making one of them.
Oh,
remember?
is it? No, I didn't remember that, to be honest.
Oh, okay, that's fair enough. But yeah,
Mike Flanagan is doing the Chuck.
he is doing Chuck, but Tucker, he already made Chuck.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But that would be cool.
Yeah.
Oz Perkins, again, another name, actually, like we were mentioning, Raka Raka and Ari Aster. Oz Perkins, I think, might be the strongest name recognition new director.
Yeah.
As of like the last couple of years. And so that would be an amazing pairing. That'd be really cool. The only reason why I think this is not going to happen is because I think that IP is too hot, and I think that Neon would be outbid. So I just think it wouldn't end up with them. And I just don't think they have the fucking capital to battle. Like, Paramount and Universal and, like, all these fucking major studios are probably battling for that as well.
They're probably interested, but it's also a question of how much you're really wanting to pay for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's recognizable, but, like, really how much belovedness is there behind that series.
Yeah. God, an indie sensibility produced Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I'm wetting my lips. Boy, I'm wetting my lips.
That sounds so good. I mean, we've just gotten fucking studio horseshit fucking Texas Chainsaw for our entire lifetimes, Tanner.
Yeah.
But the reason that series is popular is because that original movie is like 3 fucking guys out in a desert trying to make a horror movie.
Yeah, it's cool.
And so, man, I really hope this happens, but I sincerely fucking doubt it. I see another Leatherface in our future.
Oh no. Okay, what do we got? Oh, Noah Centineo, Andrew Koji, and Jason Momoa are all in talks to star in the Street Fighter film, which is still going ahead, despite Raka Raka, who we invoked a number of times, departing that project. But there's some casting getting involved here.
Yeah.
Big names for a video game movie, Tucker. Certainly that won't come up again.
You spell his name Jason
Oops.
Momoa. Okay.
Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa. Who's he gonna be in the fucking Street Fighter movie?
Apparently, Tucker. Blanca.
Oh wait, that's actually awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. Paint that man green. Get him to do a spinny kick in the air. Yeah, whippy. That's gonna be in the movie when fucking Blanca shows up. Yippee! Look, he's spinning.
Yeah. This has been something that has been rumored, but I think it is now official from Lionsgate.
Anton Fuqua. Hold on, just quickly.
Sorry.
Would Noah Centineo would be Ken?
I think he's Ken, or maybe Ryu, or isn't there like a new guy that they introduced in the last game?
Luke.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think I've heard that
too.
Luke. Yeah.
Could be Luke.
Yeah. And Anton Fuqua's Michael has been officially delayed until 2026. The question now is, will they split it into 2 parts or not? Apparently, the working cut is around 3 to 4 hours. So we'll see.
All I have to say here is nanny nanny boo boo. I can't believe you put that in your top 10. You fucking idiot.
Hey, I will be vindicated next year. You watch.
No.
Okay. Well, it might be a little hard to be vindicated when Avengers Doomsday comes out in December of 2026 now. These films have both been delayed from their May release dates to December release dates.
Good.
Yes. I think it's probably because apparently they don't have a full script for this. Hey, worked out for Mission Impossible a couple of times. Will it work out for the Avengers movies? They don't fully have the faith in that. Let's see.
It kind of worked out for Mission Impossible.
Yeah. But, 3 out of 4 times ain't bad.
Yeah. I think this is good for those movies. We were always saying how quick the turnaround was from production. This is going to help those. What's interesting about this is the first major holiday slots other than No Way Home, I guess, that...
Yeah, No Way Home was in December.
Superhero movies don't usually come out in December.
That's a good point. Well, Tucker, you forget about Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah, no, I didn't, but I just I didn't want to say his name.
But Tucker, that's a very good point. I mean, obviously those are huge release dates, but yeah, they usually reserve them for like differently branded sorts of blockbusters. But this time, the MCU, Disney's staking down their claim, and we'll have to see what moves around them. I do just want to quickly look and see what is currently dated around those films that will likely move.
What you don't have to check for is, because of this delay, again, another major Marvel gap. After Fantastic Four First Steps, it won't be until over a year, almost 18 months, until the release of the next film. Though Spider-Man might end up releasing before that. I don't know if we have a window for that movie yet.
Apparently, it might be like July. Wait, no, I think don't we have? Yes, we do have Spider-Man: Brand New Day, July 31st, 2026.
I forgot that movie got a fucking name.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, July? You saying?
July 31st.
Okay, all right, sure.
Yeah. Why not?
Okay, so let's be honest. There's not actually that big a gap. Marvel Studios, Sony, like people draw a line.
There's a year.
It's a fucking MCU movie.
There's a year.
It's like my dick, and also it's gonna probably tie into to Secret Wars and Doomsday. So
around Doomsday, in the weeks surrounding Doomsday, we have currently dated Jumanji 3, Doom 3, Ice Age 6, and Shrek 5.
Ain't no fucking way all those movies come out on that time.
No way.
No shot, dude.
And around, the only thing that is currently dated on the same day as Avengers Secret Wars is Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum.
That's moving too.
That'll probably move.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Gollum, you can't stand up against fucking Doctor Doom and every superhero ever.
Mm-hmm. Things have already moved in, though, on those May dates. Specifically for next year, The Devil Wears Prada 2 will release on May 1st, 2026, which was the
kind of like a
release
wash
spot. Yeah,
kind of like
probably a $2 billion movie there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, more video game movie news. Alex Garland is officially set to direct an Elden Ring film at A24.
Jesus Christ. That's the news of the month, in my opinion.
Sure,
that's
fair enough.
Fucking crazy style, dude.
I'll also jump down to the other video game news at the very bottom. Amazon MGM has bought the right to the John M. Chu split fiction film starring Sydney Sweeney. That was rumored. That was apparently that we got news that was happening last month, and apparently that one is moving ahead because it has been purchased by a major studio. Yeah,
it'll be cool to see quicker turnarounds for video game adaptations because almost everything we've seen is based on a long-standing classic video game IP. I think honestly, Until Dawn's probably the newest
most
game
recent
that we've seen adapted into a film, unless I'm forgetting something. But I like the idea of a tighter turnaround in terms of cultural relevance. And Split Fiction's not going to get a sequel. That's not really what Joseph Fares does with him in his games. The only other question out in the air for this, of course, I assume this will happen. I think this is something we want to get happening quickly. It seems like they're excited about this. Big deal. John M. Chu, massive director with the Wicked movies. Sydney Sweeney, big deal. She presumably is Zoe, one of the two female leads. Again, not actually interesting. Two female characters are really the only relevant characters in this game. So a dual female lead, massive Amazon blockbuster is pretty cool. Although, that's actually kind of what Wicked is. But who's going to be Mio? There are two leads here. And so who are you going to... Mio is...
Let me look up Mio Split Fiction and give you my initial thought.
She's dark hair, a little bit darker skin. I don't really know who they're going to go with this. She's racially ambiguous enough to where it could be fucking anyone, but
Jenna Ortega?
That'd be interesting. Tanner, unfortunately, that actually really works in terms of personality. Okay. Mio's kind of the one that's harder to build friendships and a little bit more jaded.
The types of characters that Jenna Ortega plays.
That could be big. That could be big money. I was also thinking Isabella Merced. She's big right now.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm looking forward to this. It could be really cool. And also, again, this is based off a video game IP, but really it's just a multiversal traveling between sci-fi and fantasy, which is, again, something you've never really seen in a movie before. If they get it right, that's a big fucking adventure movie, theatrical spectacle experience.
Amazon MGM is apparently going all in on the big making big blockbusters and putting them in theaters thing. So I think this fits.
Thank you, Jeff Bezos.
Last two. We're getting out of the blockbuster realm. We're talking about Neon again, but also some art film here. Jafar Panahi's "It Was Just an Accident" wins the Palme d'Or. That will be distributed by Neon probably later this year, and we will certainly be talking about it on our show, The Quest for the Bestest. Probably as a Palme d'Or winner, of course, and then maybe also as a Best Picture nominee. We'll see.
Probably. All the last 5 of them have been Best Picture nominees?
Everything except for what am I
Shoplifters?
No, Tucker, the car. Fuck a car. Why can't I think of the movie?
Oh, Titan was not.
Yeah, Titan was in the Best Picture.
I was going to say Drive My Car.
Fuck my car.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing. This one was a complete shock to me because I didn't know this was happening at all. But apparently,
Tanner woke up and got sucker punched by fucking Deadline.
I did. Ariana Grande is going to be in Meet the Parents 4, which is coming out next Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so but all the old cast is returning too, so she's just
probably
they're just injecting an extra character for fucking box office potential.
Yeah, but because Ariana Grande.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's the thing is they want this to happen. Ben Stiller, Robert De Niro, okay, big names. Are they current box office draws? I don't think so. So you inject someone who is. Mm-hmm. Whatever. This is why this movie's getting made.
Yeah, is she a Fokker? You think she's a Fokker? No. Or do you think or do you think there's a boy Fokker whom this is his girlfriend or whatever?
Is one of the Fokker kids from the fucking mid 2000s?
I haven't seen any of these movies.
Is Tanner one of the titular little Fokkers old enough now?
Oh,
but they're not her age.
The little Fokkers all grown up.
Interesting. I wonder if it's going to get a funnier name.
Oh, I hope so.
What's the second one called? Or is that Little Fokkers?
What about Dinner for Schmuck?
No, that's not. That's a totally different movie.
What am I thinking?
That's unrelated. Of? They're both white posters
Meet the Fokkers. Text. Meet the Parents. Little Fokkers.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, but don't put a fucking number in there. Come on.
Yeah. Wait, is there not a Dinner for Fokkers or whatever?
No, you're crazy, dude. That's not true.
I'm googling Dinner for Fokkers.
Meet the Parents, Meet the Fokkers, Little Fokkers.
I see. Okay.
So put Fokker in the name, please.
God. Of course, you have to. Okay, Tucker. Let's refocus again. June 2025 releases.
Yeah.
The Dead Heat of Summer, baby. This is what we're getting. We're getting Ballerina from the world of John Wick. We're getting The Phoenician Scheme. We're getting How to Train Your Dragon. We're getting Materialists. We're getting The Life of Chuck. So far, some Blockbuster and also some indie fare sprinkled in. I'm liking this so far. Then we go to June 20th, sees the release of 28 Years Later and Elio and Bridehard. And the end of the month, June 27th, F1 or F1 the Movie, it might also be called, and Megan 2.0.
Yeah, this is very balanced. And it'll be interesting to see if the theatrical energy from this month carries over. Because there are actually quite a few movies here in a very diverse set of genres that all could be big. Ballerina is a very big if. Is the action and general theme or general IP of John Wick big enough to carry a spin-off? We've never seen that before. It's Untested Waters. How to Train Your Dragon is definitely going to be big. 28 Years Later as a horror movie, if it's great, I think that could be big. We've seen Pixar bounce back over the last couple of years. Will Elio carry that? I think Megan will be big. I think F1 will be big. And so I think we're actually looking at a pretty good month here. And again,
I think so too.
Something for everyone. Yep. You've got your indie movies, you've got your horror movies, you've got your action movies, you've got your blockbusters, you've got your animated movies. I'm really excited about June 2025.
I think so too. But Tucker, let's see what we think the audience is the most excited for. So again, here we both have the same number one. It's the live action remake of How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes. Is anything here opening on a 4-day weekend? Is there any 4-day weekends here?
No major holidays in June here. Not any that give a day off of work or anything like that. So, How to Train Your Dragon number one. I'm going to say that is going to open to $75 million.
Okay. I think that's low.
You think that's low?
Put it out of the books.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll do 100. I was like, is it that big? Is it gonna be that huge?
Yeah.
I could go up. I'm doing a 75. That's what I'm gonna stick with it. That's what I wrote down. Okay. F1 I think will be pretty big. I think there is some hype behind this. I get the vibe from the theater every time the trailer plays. I'm going $55 million for F1.
Sure.
Okay. Then Tucker. At number 3, I have 28 Years Later. Now let me tell you a little something here.
All right, spin another yarn.
Okay.
This guy's a fucking spintress.
That's right. Final Destination Bloodlines had one of the, was a huge, it was a very popular trailer on YouTube. I remember seeing headlines about this. And I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. But, trailer views on YouTube not always, carrying over to to box
Sales.
office numbers.
Yeah.
But then we saw this, and as we already established, we saw a great month for horror coming along. And I also saw headlines about how 28 years later, that trailer was also very popular on YouTube. I think that the horror momentum here, and what I assume will be a quality film coming from Danny Boyle returning to this franchise, I think we're gonna have another perfect storm here for 28 years later. I'm saying $45 million opening weekend.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds excellent.
Basically right around what Final Destination did. I lowered it a little bit, just like, what if some people don't like it? Danny Boyle can be kind of an off-putting directorial voice for some. He did film this all on iPhones or whatever, so we'll see. Then I have, what do I have? I have Ballerina at number 4. I do think that the John Wick name recognition and the amount that they are putting John Wick in the trailers for this will help this. I think it'll buoy it. I think it's going to buoy it to $35 million opening weekend. And apparently, like, it has been fixed. Like, apparently the initial film was pretty bad, but they
delayed almost a year out of last year.
Yeah, Stahelski basically came in and shadow directed reshoots for this thing, and got it into working order again. So I think it'll be solidly well received as well. So 35 for that, and then Elio, I'm just gonna put it right around what Elemental opened to, about 30. I'm gonna say. Okay. So that's my thinking there.
Sure. All right. And these are our predictions for the opening weekends for these movies. And again, top 2, but I think you're underselling the potential of Megan.
It could be.
You had 28 years later at a 45.
Yeah.
The first Megan opened to 30 in January.
It did.
And this movie's got it does have more blockbuster appeal in that they're leaning into the sort of action side of Megan. And leaning into the meme aspect of it as well. Known IP this time. I think this is going to be, I think it's going to be a big deal. And so I think that it'll probably open to around what you think 28 years later will, or in the 40s. And Elio, I agree in general sentiment. And then I just have more confidence in people talking about 28 years later a lot more than they do Ballerina.
Sure. Yeah.
No one's talking about that fucking movie.
I don't know, Tucker. I think we might see something. I think we might see a little something here. And if I can talk about the Megan 2.0 decision to leave it off here, I will just say that I think the decision to go action over horror might end up hurting it.
Sure, yeah.
Like
I agree, but I agree more in the long term and not necessarily opening weekend.
Opening weekend,
I think that gives it a little bit wider appeal. One thing that we criticized actually the original Megan for was because of its PG-13 rating, it couldn't lean into what the movie felt like it was going to be, like, very violent, but they had to hold that back. I think leaning into the goofiness of Megan, because that works a little bit better with PG-13 rating and spreading the ground a little bit in terms of appeal. I think this is because what we've seen is it's like action horror. I think this is an attempt to make this a broader thing and not horror movies, which are consistently popular and profitable, but do have a limited viewer base.
I would also say the January thing was that people are always hungry for something to go see in January.
Yeah, sure.
People are not going to be necessarily hungry for action movies in the dead of hot summer, I would say. That's kind of my feelings on it. I also think, like, the goofier thing that they're going for, like, leading into the memery of it all, kind of goes over like a fart in church whenever I see the trailer in theaters with a bunch of people.
Sure.
Like, there's not just like there's not really a, oh, that looks fun vibe. There's kind of a, kind of vibe going on.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will see at the end of next month what happened.
Yeah.
Frankly.
We'll see what happened. Thank you, everyone, so much for watching this video, sitting through the beginnings of the Blockbuster Summer Blockbuster Season dissection with us.
Blockbuster Banter, if you recall, Tanner.
That's right, Blockbuster Banter. We'll be back for more Blockbuster Banter next time. We'll see you then.